Hello and welcome back to the Battle Room. I am, of course, the Battle Room, and today I'm joined by my good friend Raghav. How you doing, buddy?
Colin, I'm doing great, but I can't lie, I am a little sore. Been doing a lot of ab workouts, but I can say I have the strongest core in the game right now, and we have the same thing for you. We got a bunch of cores that are going to be good in Pokemon Champions, and we're gonna break them down for you.
Yeah, I figure since we don't know the full decks and the full extent of what is gonna be in the game, let's just break down some cores of strong basic concepts you can start with, and then you can elevate, you can change out pieces, but it gives you a good idea of what you could potentially start with and what kind of ideas you could build upon. So first things first, we gotta talk about Sun. I feel like Mega Charizard is incredible. He's been incredible, and I think he just is going to stay incredible. So Charizard, we're starting off with kind of a normal set here. Heat Wave, Overheat, those are his two strongest moves. Obviously, he has the Drought ability, but then we've got Tailwind and Protect. I think he really doesn't need many other moves. Right now, there's not a lot of Flash Fire, so I think that's really the only punish to that. And even if there was a lot of Flash Fire, we do have his buddy Ursaluna here.
Yeah, I mean Charizard does get other coverage moves like Scorching Sands in case Heatran becomes legal, or if you need Solar Beam on your team. But I think for the purpose of this core, this is the perfect set because, as you said, we have an Ursaluna that can abuse the Tailwind, and having an Earthquake partner is just really nice. And we've mentioned a few times in our videos, we think Ursaluna is going to be really strong. I mean, this bear has been broken in restricted formats, so in such a limited decks, it's going to be one of the apex predators. And there's no reason to overcomplicate it. You just run the moveset that you do. Flame Orb, Guts, Facade, Headlong, EQ, Protect. And it just always does well with the classic Tailwind and Trick Room combination.
Yeah, and I obviously love using Ursaluna, and I think one of the fun parts about Ursaluna too is its speed. Now, obviously, you can't go lower than 70, or I mean, I guess you can go Brave, right? You can go a little bit slower.
Naughty Ursaluna.
You can go to 63, but for the most part, right? I think you can add some speed, and obviously when you're pressing Tailwind, it doubles. So potentially you can get this thing up to 204, which is pretty insane. And Ursaluna's stats are so good that sometimes running max speed Ursaluna is totally fine. I got top 4 at a regional with max speed Ursaluna, and it's just something that's always been kind of good. Obviously, you can tone that down if you want a little bit more bulk. But yeah, we're not here to talk about spreads. We're talking about cores. But I do think there's a lot of creativity that can go into your Ursaluna speed. Then next up is Incineroar. I think Incineroar is actually really important to the core. I think Incineroar obviously functions amazingly in Sun. It gets rid of some of its weaknesses, and he is also probably the best partner for Ursaluna just to help enable it with U-turn or parting shot. We have Assault Vest here. You can obviously run depending on what the meta develops into. Safety goggles can be very, very valuable. You can run Citrus Berry. It really is up to you, but I think U-turn, parting shot, and fake out are all you really need.
Yeah, and I think with Intimidate and Sun and the Assault Vest, this Incineroar will never die. And like you said, he's the best friend of Ursaluna, but also the best friend of Farigiraf. If you're wanting to set up Trick Room for your Ursaluna, it is ideal to have an Incineroar next to you. U-turn has the added benefit of not being able to be taunted or throat chopped, which I think we will see more of in this format just because Incineroar doesn't get knockoff anymore. So that's actually a real reason to run U-turn as well. But yeah, it's just the Gloomon. It does really well in Sun. It can abuse it too. And next to this Farigiraf that we have next, you can set up Trick Room really easily, but also just do kind of sneaky damage in Trick Room with this Throat Spray set that we have too.
And also in Tailwind, right? If you start
Yeah.
sweeping, you can just use Furgraph. It's obviously really good at setting up Trick Room. You can have this Tail Room type of dynamic, but also just bringing this thing next to Charizard and you're just spamming Hyper Voice and Heat Wave. That's a ton of damage, and it's very, very annoying to deal with. You can't even fake it out, and you're just dealing damage. And that's kind of what you want to do with this team.
And this format is going to be very weather heavy, so having a like a pivot option in Incineroar is really good, but also having Farigiraf's Armor Tail to stop things like Aqua Jet from Basculegion could be very useful. This is the main core 4, but we think it would be best supplemented by a grass type, so we're giving you two options here. Starting with Venusaur, it gives the team another dimension because it has Sleep Powder, which I think is really not going to be very common in this format. There's no Amoonguss, there's no Jumpluff, so having a sleep option is going to be really, really good, especially if your opponent's not ready for it. But importantly, you also get that grass coverage, which, you're not hitting too many water types this format. And Chlorophyll is just a really, really dangerous combo with this Charizard.
Yeah, Venusaur has always been an amazing partner for Charizard. Just leading them to is so deadly, and a lot of the Pokemon are weak to water types. So having that extra actual grass move and grass damage threatens stuff like Basculegion. And even like with the
Dondozo.
EP, Dondozo, you can hit Archaludon for super effective damage. I think it could be very valuable in the rain matchup specifically.
Yeah, and you can run Protect on it too, depending on what your like last Pokemon is. But we just wanted to give you all the coverage options here. Protect's always useful. You also do have a Furrier, so if you want to play risky, you don't need it. But yeah, these are the 4 moves that I would really consider on Venusaur for sure.
And then finally, we have Whimsicott here. Whimsicott is just really good because it helps enable that Tailwind mode much more aggressively. I think Charizard plus Whims is actually pretty scary. You could also run stuff like Fake Tears. We obviously have Helping Hand here. You could run Covert Cloak with Fake Tears to make it really, really reliable as a way to just smack opponents with some Fake Tears Heat Waves or Overheats. And then also just Tailwind again, enabling these Pokemon.
Yeah, another option is obviously running Protect, but also Sunny Day. Whimsicott's just a very versatile Pokemon, and having that instant Tailwind lets your Charizard do the damaging. You know, it doesn't have to click Tailwind itself, so I think that's another very good option. You can also run a Grass move because we wanted Grass coverage. But overall, you want to pick one of the Grass types and then figure out what your team needs in that 6th slot.
Next up here, we have probably one of the best cores you could use day one. I would say that this is the best core to start off Pokemon Champions with, and that is of course Archaludon, Pelipper, and Basculegion. I think Archaludon is a demon. He is just absolutely absurd in the formats he's been good in. Specifically, we've seen him pop off in Regulation H, and I kind of feel like in this kind of format where there are no Terras, there's no Maxes, or like all he's really dealing with are Megas, he can be the Mega himself.
Yeah, he seems just kind of like an unkillable loser right now. Depending on what they add into the game, it could get a little bit worse, but no matter what, Archaludon is going to be one of the strongest Pokemon in the format. There just aren't a lot of really strong special attackers, and the coverage is just very lacking. You have the Assault Vest, you have Stamina, but on top of that, this team also has a Sinistcha on it to heal back after it gets those boosts. So I think Archaludon's just a phenomenal start. And obviously, he has Electroshot, so he's going to need his best friend Pelipper to set that rain up.
Yeah, his moveset isn't too crazy. He's got all the coverage you need. And then Pelipper's here to enable him further. Obviously, the annoying part about Pelipper as well is it's very hard to KO. The Focus Sash is such a great item for Pelipper, setting up the rain with Drizzle. And then it's just kind of smacking you around with really strong stab moves or enabling Arch further with Tailwind. And then obviously Protect so it can stay alive.
Yeah, again, this is just a baseline. If your team needs maybe a bulkier Pelipper with, I don't know, Covert Cloak or Damp Rock or something, you can run that too. Also gets Wide Guard, which could be useful in the format if everyone just starts spamming like Earthquake, for example. It gets a lot of really neat moves. It gets Helping Hand too. But regardless, you want Pelipper, support this Archaludon, and our next Pokemon, Basculegion, which just makes it an absolutely deadly combo.
Basculegion is like actually the most annoying Pokemon. I think it's more annoying than Sneasler. This guy in unrestricted formats is a demon, right? And I don't think that's going to change here. He obviously abused Terra pretty well with like Terra Water Wave Crash, but hey, now they can't Terra out of like into a resistance, right? He's just going to hit you with a Wave Crash and there's nothing you can do about it. So we got Choice Band Basculegion here with Swift Swim. We got Wave Crash, obviously his best move. It literally one-shots anything. Last respects, if Wave Crash doesn't get him, this will later into the game. And then what makes him truly annoying is Flip Turn, right? You lead Pelipper, Basculegion, and you say, hey, what am I going to do? Am I going to Flip Turn or am I going to Wave Crash, right? And if they just Flip Turn into Archaludon, he can start getting those stamina boosts, get going, and just turn into a monster. Or you can just one-shot something with Wave Crash. I think he is so broken with these three, and I think this core is going to dominate the early format.
Yeah, Basculegion's absolutely nuts, just because you can play it either in the early game or as a late game sweeper. And, I mean, like you said, he's just stupid, especially without Terra, without things like Rillaboom in the format. He is kind of left unchecked, and he's just like the perfect combo to Archaludon Pelipper, who might need a second to get going, whereas Basculegion, he's ready from turn 1. He's ready to rock your shit.
Yeah, and then finally rounding them out, I think Sinestcha is really important to the team. I think Cindy is really great with Archaludon specifically, like you mentioned earlier, just giving him some sort of healing. And I think the healing is perfect, right? Like being able to just switch in, give him a free Citrus Berry, more or less, and then he's chilling. And that's kind of all he needs sometimes. Obviously, we also have Life Dew to help enable that further, Rage Powder to protect him, and then obviously Machakacha for a stab move and Trick Room just in case things get a little dicey. Then we gave it Citrus Berry for multiple or maximum survivability. But this thing can just switch in and out and continuously heal this guy, and it's absurd. I think you can run something like a Jack Button even. That could be kind of fun.
That could be hilarious, actually. But yeah, it's just like one of the best support Pokemon in the format. One of the few Follow Me guys or Rage Powder guys. Its ability's insane. Life Dew adds a lot of dimension to the team. And yeah, like you said, I just think it's the perfect partner next to this core. And we don't have a particular Mega Pokemon in mind, so we've given you some options here again. In Rain, you could run Meganium Mega because of its ability. It still gets the move like the Sun is active, gives you more grass coverage, and, you know, it still benefits from the rain because it's not taking as much from those fire hits.
Yeah, it's also very, very bulky. It's able to switch in. It has a decent special attack stat as well. It can abuse Tailwind. Like, overall, I think if Meganium is going to shine, it's probably going to be on this kind of core of Pokemon, right? And so I think Meganium is a really good pick. But I think these four are so good that even if you don't want to use Meganium or Dragonite, I think Kangaskhan could be good. I think you could throw in, like,
Salamence,
Gengar,
literally
yeah.
anything, dude.
Anything. So, yeah, it's just whatever you want, but these two are two that I think could particularly shine.
Yeah, Weather Ball's cool too because it gives the team fire coverage, and it hits those grass types, which usually you'd only rely on Hurricane from Pelipper, and there's just not a lot of flying coverage in the format. But speaking of flying coverage, our other option is Dragonite Mega, which gets to use Hurricane in Rain. It gets to use Thunder, but also what's really neat about it is it has multi-scale, and so it pairs really well with Sinestro.
True, yeah, and it just puts on a lot of pressure, and I think it's just more like just another like strong harding Pokemon that you have to deal with, right? Like Archaludon is annoying, you have to get through him, you gotta get through Basky Legion, and now you also have a multi-scale Dragonite. You just have way more stats than your opponent does, and I think that's the beauty of this team and why it's so successful early format.
Yeah, I think that you can't go wrong with just putting really bulky, strong Pokemon, and no matter what, Rain is going to be there. You better use it or be ready for it.
Now next we have Perish Song. Now Perish Song traditionally has been a very, very hard archetype to use and very, very hard one to build. But I think what makes it a little bit easier this time is, of course, Mega Gengar. Mega Gengar is incredibly strong and a Pokemon you need to respect. This is a team that you're going to need. You're probably going to play early. I think it's very fun and cool to build and use. So I think other players are going to be interested in it as well.
Yeah, honestly, it is so difficult to build. We've given you a very good baseline, but it's more important to just be ready for it. Make sure that your team doesn't just auto lose to it, because I guarantee, because of Wolf's success and just Perish being such a sick strategy, people are going to use it, and you don't want to just auto lose to it, right? So this Mega Gengar set we have is Shadow Ball Substitute Perish Song Protect. Last time Mega Gengar was available, this was the best Perish Song set in my opinion. You can run things like Disable as well, but I think Substitute gives you a lot more longevity and easier time maneuvering around, you know? Because that's what Perish is about. It's not just about getting up the Perish Song immediately, it's about getting into the right position, withstanding hits, so you have that perfect time to click Perish Song.
You're right, yeah, and like you said, like Substitute is such a big deal because sometimes you can just like fake out Substitute early or just set yourself up to get the Perish Song going, because again, you have two Perish Song users, and I think that's what makes it like an actual legitimate strategy, whereas in the past, like, it was like kind of reserved to Wolf because like he was the only one trying to push the strategy forward. But now I think like it's a little bit easier to pull off. So having Mega Gengar, Perish Song, this set is just godlike. And then next up we have probably the most important Perish Song partner in Incineroar.
Yeah, this set, it looks wonky, but it's the only thing that actually works on these sets. Important thing to keep in mind about Perish Song, you ideally want every single Pokemon to have Protect, so you can abuse those Perish Song turns, and you can just win games by getting a double Protect sometimes. So you obviously have to run Protect Incineroar, Citrus Berry for bulk, you know, make sure you don't die, Fake Out obviously, Parting Shot as a pivot move, and we're choosing Throat Chop here because we don't want a fire move like Flare Blitz, because we have Rain in our second Perish Song setter. Throat Chop also is really cool at, you know, stopping sound moves for, let's say, Gengar Substitute, or just like Parting Shots. So you can run Darkest Lariat, but I think Throat Chop just has a little bit more utility, and the team's not really so much about damage anyway. It's only 5 base power, so I think this is the Incineroar set to run on Perish Song, unless for some reason you're not running Rain, in which case you can probably run Flare Blitz.
Yeah, like you said, it's about getting those damage with Perish Song. So then finally we have Politoed, who's just another incredible Perish Song user. Leftovers, because obviously we have citrus here. I think you can move the items around, like if you found an item, like if you needed safety goggles here or something, this could definitely be citrus as well, but currently he has leftovers. Drizzle to set the rain. Weather Ball is our damaging move. He actually does a surprising amount of damage with Weather Ball. And then Parasong is obviously Parasong. And Encore is really deadly as well, because if you ever make a mistake in front of Gengar or Incineroar, specifically Gengar plus Politoed, there's nothing you can do. He's encoring you and you're toast, right? There's nothing, like you're trapped in against this guy. So even when Parasong isn't active, just being able to force them to use a move they don't want to use can be really valuable. And then Protect.
Yeah, I personally believe Politoed is almost mandatory on this team just because it gets Encore, Parasong, obviously. But Weather Ball in Rain is so useful for opposing Incineroar, because opposing Incineroar is a problem. They can just switch out, right? They can U-turn or Parting Shot. But when you have Politoed, you're always threatening them. If you can get them trapped in front of you, easy. Mega Gengar protects, U-turn into Politoed. Now it's a problem for the opponent, right?
Yeah.
So I think Politoed is the best secondary Parasong user as opposed to something like Primarina. And yeah, leftovers for longevity. There's not too much to say. The rest of this core is going to require creativity, right? You need something for Scarf Pokemon. You need probably redirection. So I think Sinistcha is a natural fit. But these are the main three, and you have to iterate from here, in my opinion.
I definitely agree with you, yeah. And there's a lot of stuff just depending on what is popular, what is good, that you'll need answers to, right? Like, if Delphox is really, really powerful and really, really strong, that's a Pokemon you probably need to beat because it does outspeed Gengar. So having answers to whatever the meta shifts and ebbs and flows into is kind of up to the building.
Yeah, there's a ton of options there. That's the puzzle of Perish, right? It's always a puzzle.
Now, we've talked about Perish Trap Gengar, but also Gengar is so broken that I think he's going to be good even on like more of a balancey team. Gengar has thrived traditionally in the past, in 2018 at least. He was very, very good. This was a type of team that found a lot of success. Obviously, back in the day, it usually involved Tapu Fini and Incineroar, but some things don't change, and Mega Gengar in balance is going to be good.
Yeah, and this one you actually get to abuse its massive special attack stat by running Double Stab and Protect, of course, essential for a trapping ability. And the fourth move, you can run stuff like Substitute Again or Icy Wind, but for this one, we have Disable because we think Scarf Pokemon are going to be very good, but also you're going to see we have a little sauce near the end that pairs really well with Gengar's Disable. But most importantly, on a Gengar balance core, we want to make sure that we have oppressive options that are trapped in. You want to trap in your opponent and make sure you're actually punishing them. So next up, we have Basculegion.
Yeah, Basculegion is absurd. We talked about him on the Rain team, but a set that I think not a lot of people are going to necessarily anticipate or use early on is the Choice Scarfed Adaptability. We saw this set absolutely destroy Reg H the second time around, and I think it's going to be even better here. Again, there's no defensive tearing to escape this guy. And Scarf Basculegion is just so strong. It doesn't really need the rain. It's very self-sufficient. It's also just an incredible lead, right? Like being able to just flip turn out, just get a chunk of damage. He can't be faked out. Just get that damage off, get out of there, and then set up for a last respects or wave crash sweep in the end game is just really OP. And I think this guy is going to be incredible.
Yeah, it's just such a nasty Shadow Tag partner. And again, Gengar's not the bulkiest Mega, so it does probably have a really good shot at just being that late game sweeper that you need on these kind of teams. But there's not that much more to say. Flip turn adds, like, again, more pivoting, which is always good with Shadow Tag. And it complements well with our next Pokemon, which is, it's going to be a popular one on these archetypes, Incineroar.
Yeah, I think
this
it's...
time...
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just saying, this time we have a slightly different set. We got Citrus Berry with Wisp for a little bit of support. But you can always run a Dark move. It's just... I mean, what were you going to say? Incineroar is just a goat, dude.
Yeah, and I think he's just so essential to Gengar, right? Like, he just makes Gengar more annoying. Like, being able to intimidate them, like, obviously that defense stat ain't looking too hot, but able to throw that Intimidate down just enables him further. Also, just, like, faking out or bringing him in on the second turn, right? Like, if they lead a Scarf Garchomp, I protect Gengar turn 1, bring an Incineroar off of a flip turn, boom, I'm chilling. Like, I can fake him out, and there's nothing he can do, right? It sets up a ton of awesome checks and, yeah, just pins throughout the game, and I think Incineroar is just incredible with Gengar, Shadow Tag.
Yeah, like you said, that pivoting just makes, you know, your options just skyrocket. You have so much freedom to do what you want. So this is the main three that we're suggesting for a Gengar balance core, and This will enable you to have some strong hitters, something to abuse Shadow Tag next, right? And we have two options here again. First up, we have Ninetales, because it has Encore, but also I think Snow Warning's really nice since it is, again, a very weather-heavy format. You want something for, let's say, opposing Sand, Rain, Sun. So I think Ninetales gives a lot to the team in that way, but also Encore next to Gengar's Disable can get pretty nasty because they're trapped in, dude. They're just gonna struggle, literally.
Yeah, and I think another thing to note too about these types of teams that I think Gengar is probably one of the most flexible, right? Like I think Incineroar is kind of mandatory, but after that you could run other weathers. Like just being able to abuse his trapping mechanic offensively is the best part. And obviously we chose Ninetales here. You could run Aurora Veil if you wanted to make your team bulkier, but I think Icy Wind's cooler. But yeah, it's just about trapping him in, setting up Encore pins, and dealing more damage with Blizzard. And then finally we have Whimsicott, who Whimsicott Gengar is honestly horrifying, right? Like again, this is another Encore pin because we've got Disable here, but just sitting in front of Whimsicott Gengar is so scary because you can threaten Fake Tears, you can threaten Tailwind, you could just protect, and then if they make any defensive option whatsoever, you just Encore them into it and they just can't move.
Yeah, I think Whimsicott is just, again, another nasty partner, and you have so many options similar to Ninetales, which also gets Fake Tears, by the way. But yeah, you just have so many options, whether you want to Fake Tears, Tailwind, Encore, Helping Hand. It just makes their options very, very limited, and it gives you a huge sense of control while also giving you more offense in your support Pokemon.
Yeah, I think this is going to be a potentially nasty team that you're definitely going to have to look out for, especially among good players. I think good players really like Shadow Tag. They like stopping their opponent from switching, so this is something you got to be ready for. Next up here we have Orthworm. I think Orthworm has real potential in this early format. I think Orthworm in general has always he's always been kind of under the radar, but he's always like, some top players really love using him, and he can really pop off at some tournaments. We've seen players get top 4 with him at regionals before. I think he's won a tournament as well. He's pretty nuts. He can be pretty nuts, and I think early meta, this like lower power level, I think he could really shine.
Yeah, like you said, early meta limited decks, I think Earthworm is just even better than usual. And yeah, that Shed Tail just enables some really nasty strategies. I'm curious to see how people use it with Megas too. Mm-hmm. Like, man, you could put a Mega Gengar, you could put a Mega Charizard, you could put any Mega behind it, and you're like, damn, dude, that's the guy that I need to beat. And he is behind a substitute. I don't know what to do. So we're just giving you, again, a basic outline on how to use Worm. It pairs really well with Fake Out, obviously, because you want to enable that Shed Tail. Before we get into that, let's just look at the set, I guess. Body Press is its best move because it has a base 145 defense stat. And you don't need to really, do that much. It already does a lot of damage to stuff like Incineroar. Just a very good neutral chip. Next we have Shed Tail because it's its best move. After that, you kind of have options. You can run Heavy Slam for a second coverage. Of course, it's Stab. You can run Iron Defense. You can also run Helping Hand. But Body Press, Shed Tail, essential moves on this guy.
Yeah, those are the only ones that matter. And also, as we learned from our own testing, Citrus Berry is probably really, really important as well, because you do need to use 50% of your HP to pass a substitute. So having that Citrus Berry, if they do hit you, you'll be able to pop up above that 50% range, and then you're chilling. And then the most important part of all of this is, of course, Earth Eater, which is actually really, really fun. And once you get him going, like even if you set that sub and you're at 1 HP, Earthworm switches out, you put your sub on something, if your partner Pokemon can start spamming ground moves of any kind, like Earthquake specifically, you can just get him back up, and he can set up another Shed Tail. He can just start dealing damage with Body Press, and he can be very, very annoying. So I think Earth Eater just really helps carry him. Sometimes as well, you just get to lead Earthquake, and you just Earthquake next to him to pass the Shed Tail. So he can be very, very intricate in how he sets up his partners.
Yeah, also, even without clicking Shed Tail, this is a 1-mon check into Ursaluna, who we said is going to be a demon in this format. Yep. It obviously resists Facade and is immune to its ground moves, so by itself, Earthworm's really good, and it can hit back with a Body Press too. That's going to do a pretty solid amount. Mm-hmm. So yeah, definitely just a very well-positioned Pokemon. Next to it, we have Incineroar for support with that Fake Out. Just the best Pokemon in the format again. Pivoting is also just really nice to get it into the right spot with that U-turn. But more importantly, the last Pokemon, I don't really want to touch on Incineroar too much. You know what it does. last Pokemon we have is regular Dragonite because we want it to be physical so it can spam Earthquake once it's behind that sub, and it still gets multi-scale. It's still going to be impossible to kill, but we think the Scale Shot set is still going to be good in this format.
Oh, Scale Shot is simply incredible, right? Because roughly, it's doing around outrage levels of damage. Now, the only downside is, of course, that it can miss, and I guess your defense drops, but usually that's not a huge deal because you are just setting up a potential sweep later, right? You get that speed boost, and now you're outspeeding half the format. It's very good into other dragons as well, and I think in this early format, I expect the dragons to be very, very good. I expect Dragonite to be strong. I expect Garchomp, Dragapult, Excalibur, all these guys. So being able to hit them with a Scale Shot is incredibly valuable. Earthquake is obviously super important as well because it allows us to heal our Earthworm back up. And then E-Speed is just priority. It's good. But I think like we only have 3 Pokemon here. We don't even have a Mega. But I think that's okay because whatever Mega you choose, like these 3, the core idea of Earthworm is what you're trying to do. And like you can pick any Mega. You can set up Gardevoir, you can set up Charizard, whatever you think is really, really strong, I think Earthworm can support.
Yeah, I want to say I do recommend running a Mega or finishing out the team with answers to stuff like Charizard, stuff that just threatens the Earthworm setup, right? And you have a lot of room for creativity here. You can also run like Mega Dragonite. You're just going to want another like EQ Mon or something because multi-skill is just so broken. But yeah, this is the starter kit for Earthworm in our opinion. And yeah, I mean, you can just put any Mega behind a sub and it's going to be strong.
I think the other thing too about Earthworm, one last thought here, is that you don't need to bring it, right? Like you're just using good Pokemon besides Earthworm, so it just doesn't feel that bad when he doesn't get to show up to the fight. You know what I mean? Like you just don't need him sometimes, and you just get to use Incineroar and Dragonite, and you're just not complaining. So next up, we have a core here that I think is going to be very, very good early on, and I think it's very easy to pilot and very easy to build. So if you're looking for something easy, this is your core. So we got Mega Delphox, who I actually think is pretty good. Delphox is a Pokemon that, you know, when we saw that it didn't get, when we saw it got Levitate, we were like, oh, it can't press Expanding Force. This guy's gonna suck, right? Like that's horrible for it. But
I mean, it can press Expanding Force, it just doesn't get the Psychic Brand boost.
Yeah, it doesn't get the boost, but honestly, Levitate is pretty good. It's weak to ground type moves, and it just pairs so incredibly well with Earthquake spam, right? Because sometimes it's very hard to get multiple flying type partners for the Earthquake spammer, but I'm not expecting to see terrains in the early, in the early meta of Champions. I don't think they're going to be in the game outside of maybe a Mega or 2. So I expect Earthquake spam to be very, very good until Rilla shows back up, and I think Delphox is a perfect partner.
Yeah, Delphox also really, really fast. So pairing it next to another fast Earthquake partner just creates some really potent pins. Notably, it's faster than Mega Gengar, right? So, right?
Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah, it's faster than Mega Gengar, so that's honestly already just amazing offensive positioning for it. Also, Delphox paired with any EQ partner gives you at least neutral coverage into literally any Pokemon in the game. And so our EQ partner of choice is, of course, Garchomp.
Yeah, Garchomp and Delphox are pretty insane together, right? Like, not only do they give you perfect cover, the ability to hit anything neutrally or better, but also with spread moves, right? Having access to Heat Wave is a big deal. And then pairing that with Earthquake means you just get to go. Like, you just don't have risks. It can just set up really, really good, potent pins. Our set is pretty normal here. We did opt for Clear Amulet because I think Incineroar is going to be very great. So having that ability to not be intimidated is nice. Sandveil, let's get cheeky with it, right? Like, we got Sand. It's 2026. We can run Sandveil. Dragon Claw, Earthquake, Stomping, just really, really strong, hard-hitting moves. Obviously, Stomping Tantrum is a big deal for Garchomp just because he does have that single target ground move now. It's a little weak, but still very, very valuable.
Yeah, also, you could totally run Rough Skin. I probably would run Rough Skin after Sandville stops working. Like if it doesn't proc within the first 5 games, I'm just going to run Rough Skin. But Sandville is nasty. But yeah, you don't need something like Rock Slide because we have that Tyranitar up next. And also, it's already resisting Charizard. Both Delphox and Garchomp do. I just feel like you don't really need that. And having the double ground coverage is just really, really nice. But yeah, next up we have Tyranitar, giving another dimension to the team with Weather, obviously just pairing really well next to our Garchomp. But T-Tar I think is going to be a very solid Pokemon. It has useful fighting coverage, which again is kind of limited in the format, but also just an unkillable little meat stick, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he's super hard to KO, especially with that Assault Vest. Obviously, he loses his access to Terra, so you have to respect those 4 times weaknesses to fighting. But outside of that, he is just hard to kill. He doesn't care about super effective hits. His special defense he's the best special wall in the game. He shuts down some really big megas. Charizard specifically is the big one. Gengar as well really hates to see T-Tar coming. And again, weather is so big. He's good into rain, right? Being able to shut down rain, so now your Delphox and Garchomp can outspeed everything, potentially hit that Argaludon for super effective or neutral hits can be really, really valuable. So I think T-Tar is an incredible pick early meta.
Yeah, and again, its main weakness being fighting is already covered with that Delphox, which is really nice. But additionally is covered with our final Pokemon, Corviknight, which I think just adds a lot of neat stuff to the team with its typing. Gives you another EQ partner, of course. Gives you some steel coverage, which just adds on to, an already really nice defensive core that we have. And Tailwind. Tailwind means that you can match the speed. We already have really fast Pokemon, but in case the opponent has Tailwind, you want to be able to deal with that. So I think Corviknight just fits a really nice niche that the team wants.
Yeah, and I think Corviknight's just really, really difficult to KO. We went with a pretty normal set of Brave Bird, Iron Head, Tailwind, and Protect, but I think you could totally run Iron Defense, Body Press, Tailwind if you wanted to. You could run Roost. He's very flexible. You get to Taunt on there. He learns a lot of good moves, and I think early meta Corviknight is going to be pretty disgusting. Again, he matches up pretty well into some of the common megas as well, and Mirror Armor, that's a good ability. That's really, really good, especially for a team that is pretty vulnerable to Incineroar. So I think having that is pretty valuable.
Yeah, this is a core that you're gonna want to give a spin. It's gonna be a little bit off meta, but it's gonna counter some of the really common cores.
And I think another big thing here too is like the movesets are so like malleable, right? Like this could be Scarf, this could be Sash, this could be Sash, this could be Scarf. You know what I mean? Like you really could run any items on and any sets that you think are good or are potent. I just think the 4 Pokemon are just so good together.
Absolutely. So next up, we have a Mega Metagross core. One of the strongest megas still, I think, especially if it keeps its access to Heavy Slam. Obviously, it has clear body, so it already makes it, really good into opposing Incineroar. And it got coverage in Stomping Tantrum last format it was available in. So I think it just remains one of the premier megas, and it is the best choice for maybe like a balanced type team.
Yeah, Metagross is absolutely insane. He's, like, if you look at these stats, he's fast, he's strong, and he's really bulky. He just kind of has it all. He has an incredible ability, really good coverage. He's just kind of an all-arounder. He doesn't do anything super crazy. He just deals damage, and he hits you really hard. He was very, very good in 2018 when we last saw him. And yeah, I don't think that's going to change now, especially in a very mega heavy centric format. So first things first, Heavy Slam, right? Heavy Slam is the big buff that Metagross potentially gets. Now, if he doesn't get access to Heavy Slam, we don't know what Champion's moves are going to be. I do think something like Iron Head could still, fit the bill, or we've seen Metagross completely drop the Steel move if that isn't important to the meta coverage. But he hopefully still gets access to Psychic Fangs as well, which is a really, really good buff to him. Stomping Tantrum we touched on. Psychic Fangs or Ice Punch is really kind of up to you. I mean, honestly, all these moves are kind of up to you. You just kind of pick 3 that you like. I'd recommend Heavy Slam. And then you just put Protect in the last slot. It is really what you think the team needs.
Yeah, I definitely recommend at least Heavy Slam and Stomping, and then you can decide between the last 2. But we've also seen people run stuff like Rock Slide if you feel like you don't have enough into Charizard. So Metagross is pretty flexible. I just think it is going to be one of the strongest megas. Even if it doesn't get Heavy Slam, Iron Head is great. We've seen it still be amazing without it. But yeah, it's just really fat, it's really fast and really strong, and you want partners that can support it. So we have Rotom Wash next. I think Rotom Wash is kind of an underrated Pokemon. Again, we're going to see with the full decks, but I just think it's one of the best utility Pokemon.
Yeah, I think all the Rotom's forms are going to be very, very flexible. It's just going to be on which one and which typing you really need. But they do get access to some pretty strong moves, right? Like all of them get access to Will-O-Wisp, Electric Web. Another big question mark is it did get access to Parting Shot. in the Legends EA game. So we'll have to see. I think that could be a really, really cool buff for Rotom, because I think Parting Shot could be pretty cool utility, right? Like being able to pivot out and come back in.
Man.
Like, we just haven't seen Parting Shot not on Incineroar. The only other Pokemon that I think we've seen on is Persian, but outside of them, it's just not a very well distributed move for good reason. So I think Rotoms could run it, but if it doesn't get it, even if it does, Will-O-Wisp and Electro are also great utility moves.
Yeah, you can also run a Nasty Plot set if your team requires that, but overall I think Rotom's just a really nice support Pokemon, and it's a water type, which again seem a little bit lacking in the format outside of Rain, so having something like Hydro Pump to just kill Incineroar for Metagross is really, really nice.
And then we have Incineroar our own. Once again, Incineroar, he's so good. He just pairs really, really well with Metagross. Metagross has an amazing defense stat as it is. So just slamming Incineroar just feels good. He enables Metagross further. He sets up fake out pins. Yeah, he's just a really good pivot. Like, he's just great. Incineroar's good. Shocker.
Yeah, he's the glue guy, dude. On balance, you want your Incineroar generally, because again, Intimidate's also lacking in the format. There's no Lando T. So I think Incineroar is just... it's probably going to be the most popular Pokemon. But more importantly, to the core, I think, is Garchomp, which, again, gives you more coverage into opposing Incineroar. And with Claire Amulet, just makes it really, really strong into Intimidate in general. I think these four just form a really nice defensive and offensive backbone. Again, you have Rotom Wash as an EQ partner. But together, I think it's going to be really hard to kill these guys, but also just withstand what they have thrown at you.
Yeah, I think when you play a team like this, it's just about, like positioning your Pokemon well, playing around your opponent's threats, and trying to neutralize them as best you can. That's just the nature of balance. It's very like, kind of simple. It's like hit the strong moves, switch well, and play well. And I think that Metagross enables that really, really well.
It gives you skill expression, is something that I like to say. The other thing is you'll notice that our last three Pokemon are fire resist because Mega Charizard is really scary. So you always want to keep that in mind when you're running Metagross.
So technically, we don't know if Mega Salamence is in the game, but either way, you know what? Mega Salamence is really sick. We wanted to talk about him. I'm a huge Mega Salamence fan myself, and I think that if he is in the game, or when he does come into the game, I think a core like this could be incredible. So first things first, Mega Salamence. What does he do? He's super fast. He does a ton of damage, and I think one of the big buffs that Salamence got was the dynamic speed change, which allows Tailwind to be activate instantly. So Salamence is just one of the best non-priority, probably the best non-priority Tailwind setter in the game now. So I think Tailwind is a big, big deal for Salamence. He also loves spamming Hyper Voice and Double Edge, and if he's not intimidated, he is doing insane damage with Double Edge. So to deter some intimidates, we slapped on Kingambit.
Yeah, another thing that we wanted to do, like why we're covering Mega Mens, is because I feel like newer players especially don't really know how to use this guy. They run kind of some wacky movesets. But here's the thing to remember, right? You just run mixed attacking. Like Hyper Voice and Double Edge are both so good. They both do immense damage. Most of the time, Salamence wants to be spamming Hyper Voice. But Double Edge is a nuke. And Salamence has the stats to run both, so you just run both. Back to Kingambit. I think Kingambit's a really, really interesting Pokemon in this format because it doesn't seem like there's going to be a lot of fighting types. But that also means, without Terra, Kingambit is a little bit vulnerable. So I think it pairs really well next to Salamence's flying coverage, which again is just such a scarce resource in this format. I think the two together just form a really, really nasty little combo.
Yeah, and like you said, Double Edge is a nuke, so deterring those potential Intimidates is really nice as well. And yeah, we just kind of went for a much bulkier one. You can probably run a little speed on him. You could probably even run Assurance, maybe. You could run Assurance.
Yeah, Assurance would be really cool with Mega Mens. The other thing is we wanted Assault Vest because Salamence is weak to obviously ice moves and fairy moves, but Iron Head coverage is really nice for that. So I think these two together will be really, really nice. You can run a setup Kingambit, but I think generally an Assault Vest set won't let you down. It also allows you to run things like Low Kick, which, again, fighting coverage is just going to be useful in this format.
And then, obviously, we have Dragon type, we have a Steel type, so a Fairy type makes a ton of sense as the last Pokemon here. So we have a bulky Calm Mind setup Primarina with Citrus Berry. Obviously, this set can be kind of changed around. You can run Throat Spray, you can run
Run
Haze,
Haze on the
Citrus
guy, you
Berry.
can run
Yeah.
Icy Wind.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think just having water coverage for opposing Incineroar and that fantasy core, as it's called, of Dragon, Steel, and Fairy just gives you, again, such a good defensive core. And that's what you want with something like Salamence. It's honestly just such a magical Pokemon. It's a dragon type, it's flying, it gets Intimidate. Even before it Megas, it's so useful defensively. So I think these three together give you a really nice start. And there's a lot of room to work with what you want in the last three. But these three gives you options into everything so far, in my opinion. Next up, we have a little bit of a Raghav special. We did showcase this on the channel, but this Milotic set is honestly my baby, and I think it pairs well best, actually, with Mega Froslass. So Mega Froslass's ability has been revealed to be Snow Warning, and I think that's absolutely huge for it because its defenses aren't phenomenal, but now it gets access to Aurora Veil, and of course that boosted defense in Snow.
Yeah, Froslass is just like definitely a really interesting pick. It is kind of a new toy, so I think a lot of people are trying it out, trying to make it work. So I'm very curious to see. I think it's going to be pretty popular early on, and we decided to throw our own little spin on it, right? The Froslass, nothing too crazy, pretty normal moveset. I think you could run Icy Wind. There's not too much room for experimentation here. I think the set is solid and good, but the real sauce comes from Raghav's signature, Milotic.
Yeah, Milotic just pairs so naturally with Froslass because Froslass is super afraid of Incineroar as a ghost type and an ice type. But also setting up that Aurora Veil gives Milotic even more room to just press Coil. And realistically, you only need one because its special defense is already huge, especially behind that Veil. But just one Coil gives you a very respectable defensive stat, makes Muddy Water over 100% accurate, Icy Wind over 100% accurate, and it makes that Hypnosis already an 80% accurate sleep move. And we talked about this with the Sleep Powder Venusaur, but we think sleep moves are not going to be very accessible in this dex. And so being able to spam Hypnosis just gives you such an advantage over your opponent, right? Like, they're not going to be ready for that. You can't safety goggles your way out of it. I don't think Lumberry is going to be that common. So Milotic just gives you a lot of room to set up other stuff, but also even yourself with just more coils or even just spamming Muddy Water accuracy drops, Blizzard freezes. I think these two alone are really, really nasty. The only problem is you're going to take damage while you're getting that setup up.
Yeah, and to fix that, we have Sinestro once again. I think Sinestro, like from the testing with this team, it felt really, really strong. Milotic was shining, and I think a large part due to Sinestro being able to heal up with its own Citrus Berry, but then also to heal its buddies with Hospitality and potentially Life Dew. These Pokemon are just impossible to KO. And again, I think Sinestro pairs really well as well because it's weak to Incineroar, but Milotic is just a titan. When it comes to beating Incineroar, like, you are so punished if Milotic is on the field and Incineroar comes in. And a lot of the times, it's just really easy to just lead Milotic Frostless. You can just do it, you know? Like, you can just enable it so well. And I think Cindy just hates Incineroar, so Milotic is just a great partner. And again, it's just healing everything with Life Dew, with Hospitality, and with Matcha Gotcha.
Yeah, the setup is so easy to get up because Frostless is a ghost type too. Like, it can't be faked out. So these three, you're already unkillable. You're setting up Sleep. You're setting up Veil. It's your job to think creatively in the last three Pokemon. Where is the damage coming from, and what do I want to pair with this already elite defensive core?
So the last core we have for you today is one that we played against and got absolutely sauced by. And I do think it has some really, really strong potential here. It's only two Pokemon, but it is seriously all you need.
Yeah, I think it's a bit of a wild one, but this format is going to be dominated by rain. It's going to be dominated by things like Archaludon. And what actually counters that is Leech Seed Mega Venusaur. Mega Venusaur is a very bulky Pokemon, and its ability is super sick. It's obviously weak to ice and fire, but thick fat makes it so you're basically neutral against it. So I think, how do you make Leech Seed even better? Pairing it next to screens. Now Venusaur is literally living everything. I literally think it's impossible to one-shot this guy behind a screen. And these two just make it so the game goes really long, but you're getting the better end of it because you're sucking their health while also spamming paralysis with Grimmsnarl's Thunder Wave.
Yeah, and like the longer the game goes, the better it is for you, right? Like you get 8 turns of screens. If there's Thunder Waves, like 1 or 2 Thunder Waves completely could spin the game in your favor. And Venusaur, like you said, is just impossible to KO. The moveset's pretty simple, obviously. You try to get the Leech Seeds up, and then you slap them with Giga Drains, and you just continue topping off your health.
Sludge Bomb poison fishing is also really nice with this because Venusaur is on the field for so long. But like you said, Grimmsnarl is also like a menace in its own right with that
Yeah.
Thunder Wave setting up screens. Spirit Break's a little bit better in this format. I just feel like it's actually non-negligible damage. It's doing a good amount to everything. But the main thing I want to say is like we only have two Pokemon here because you can go so many different routes, and historically, and I think it will continue. Venusaur is really good on double Mega teams, right? Like you can actually run another Mega with this core, and I think it will complement it really well. Whatever Venusaur's weaknesses are, the other Mega can compensate for it. But this gives you like a built-in rain check.
Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope this helped you in any way, whether you're building, whether you're trying to figure out what you need to beat in early Champions metagame. I hope this video helped you out, and we're going to be making a ton more Champions content. So if you want to check that out, please subscribe. It means a lot to us.
And we will see you next time.